Hey guys, how's it going? This is Davin with Davin D Doodles, and I was not recording for the first couple minutes of this video. And I don't know why, I guess it just slipped my mind to hit the record button. We all have that happen sometimes. So we're here to pick up steam now and continue from where we left off. We have a nice, relaxing picture from Nice Little Town 6. It is our little mouse guy down here. He is reading a book with a lovely backdrop. And as always, this is going to take me a hot minute to finish. So be sure to use this as background noise for your own craft. And as always, make sure you have a snack and a drink of choice, which should either be coffee or tea, and this time of year I will accept cocoa. Let me know down in the comments which one you're drinking, and if you have any nice little ones that are kind of like off the beaten path. I recently tried salted caramel hot chocolate, and it is amazing. I love it. What kind are you drinking? Let me know. So, that said, I'm going to get started again, and we will get into this. Hopefully, like I said, you have your own craft because this is going to take a while. Alright, so I don't remember what I was saying and it probably doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead and dive back in. I'm trying to... You know what? We're going to make this one brown. I want the pages to look a little bit more worn and weathered because they are outside. So that's kind of why I'm going with like the brown... Oh, that's umbrella. Brown colors and things like that. And I do hope that you guys have had a good holiday. Feel free to mention your favorite part, even if it's like Christmas. Did you get any particular coloring supplies or gifts that you were really excited for? There are several people that have like their Christmas hauls out on YouTube that I haven't had a chance to watch yet. I didn't release one myself, mostly because the things that I got for Christmas, there are a few art-related things, but I just wasn't comfortable myself releasing a video like that this year. So I will like go look through other people's, and you'll probably see a haul at the end of this month, because I've already started buying a few books and things like that that I want to share with you guys. So, what did you get that you were really excited for? Or how did you spend your, not your 4th of July, your New Year's? Did you make any resolutions like we discussed about in the last video? I think I told you guys that my resolution was to do more digital art, and so far I haven't, but I do have a plan to start on a piece very soon. I'm actually doing it first in the sketchbook to kind of play with some line art. It's gonna be a video for the channel, and I want to do it in markers as well as digital, so I'm playing with that right now in my sketchbook, and I'll be moving it to a digital piece for like a bigger layout. So I'm hoping it goes well. I also want to have some coloring pages ready for release by the end of the year. It's probably not going to be anything you can buy on Amazon because I don't know how to do that. But I would like to have some PDFs and stuff like that available for you guys to purchase if you're interested. I just colored that I shouldn't have. Oh well. So that's kind of like my thought. I want to do more things that way. Like I want to do more, I guess, quote unquote business or hobby related. I'm not really going to like push myself to lose weight or anything like that this year because that never happens. But I am going to like try and do more drawing, do more digital art, because that's where I'm happiest. I'm happiest when I'm doing my art, and I want to be happy. So that is my goal. Let me know what yours is. And let's see. Do I want to use my grays? I know I want to use my Ohuhu grays. That's something that I have noticed. So I do have 2 different sets of markers. I have the Ohuhus, which I still love, like they are still some of my favorites. And then I have like the Art and Fly, and they both have gray. And I've noticed that the gray shades, even though like they'll both say cool gray or warm gray or something, are still different. And it's so fascinating. I love it because, you know, I love my markers and I love my grays especially. So I'm really glad to have both of them available. So it looks like the sun's kind of coming from this direction, so we'll put a shadow here. I just really, So I'm kind of go back and forth. I'm using both in this picture already, and I'm really happy with it. I love having two different sets of markers I can go between. Do you guys do that? Do you, like, I know lots of people have more than one type of marker, but do you ever use different types for one picture, or is it like you usually just kind of say, okay, this picture I'm gonna use this type of marker? I used to do that, but now it's like I want to mix them. I want them to be mix and match. But something I also really need to do, I had to take out my giant shelf in my art room that had all of my art supplies on it. I'm using it to have like my plants. I have like a lot of succulents, and I'm gonna start growing some plants indoors because it's too cold right now to have them outside. And for those of you that don't know, I actually have a giant patio that I have a pretty big garden. Like I have numerous containers, probably 12 containers that I put plants in. And I try and grow vegetables and stuff like that during the summer, and sometimes it works, and I've never been successful with tomatoes, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I wanted to grow plants inside, so basically I'm using the shelf that I had all of my art supplies on for that, and it's like, that was a really dumb idea because now I don't have anything to keep my art supplies on. It's on the floor and it's like all over my desk, and it's driving me a little bit crazy because I feel really cluttered and claustrophobic in my own art room, and that's not good, but I'll figure it out. I'm thinking I don't want to just get another shelf to replace the last one. Like I want to have an actual option. I'm trying to pick out another color. Maybe I'll just do cool gray. But like, I don't know. I don't want to just have another shelf. I want to have something cute and inspirational. But I don't know. We'll see. But something I am curious about is, do you guys have any special way you store your markers? Because I have two different types of markers, but you're not gonna be able to see that. I wonder if it's running low. Basically, for the two different types of markers I have two boxes there. And for the second type, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes of the other, and they're all just kind of on my table. So I'm trying to think of like the best ways to deal with that, because I kind of want to get like a actual marker holder so it'll keep them flat like this, but they're in little slots. But I would need so many. Like, I have so many markers, it's kind of ridiculous. I don't know if that's the best idea because I have so many. So what do you guys do? Do you just keep them in their little pouches they come in and, you know, find a place for that? Or do you have your own little marker storage solution? I'm gonna use 4. 2 is not strong enough. 4 should be strong enough to show. Yeah, there we go. 4 you can see. 2 is very similar to cool gray. Of course now this looks a little off, but whatever. We're just gonna go with it. So something I did get for Christmas that I really, really love is a little stuffed animal that Anthony bought me. He was at Michael's, and you know those little areas by the cash register where they put the stuff for your kids to grab and make you buy it? He saw a little Beanie Baby there, and he thought of me, so he grabbed it and he bought it. And I think that's kind of like opening an obsession for me now because it's so cute that I went and I got another one. So he went and he bought me this. It's like, his name is Kiwi. He's like one of those Beanie Baby Boo things. And it's so cute. And we were in Michael's yesterday for something. I think we were wasting time trying to get to Best Buy or something. And I saw this guy and I decided that the Kiwi needed a little friend. So I bought the owl because I love owls. So I was like, well, we're gonna start a collection. So I've started apparently collecting Beanie Babies. I didn't even know. But I thought that was pretty funny. Because go figure that, like, people that know me wouldn't expect me to collect those, like, at all. They would think I was nuts. That's definitely one of my favorite little gifts. And then he also bought me a book, so I'm going to start trying to read again. He bought me a couple books, actually. And I really want to get back into reading, but it's really gotten hard for me. I used to read all the time, okay? I mean, my favorite thing to do as a kid was just sit down with a book and read. I didn't, you know, that's all I would want to do. And now it's like I'm so tired by the end of the day. I don't want to read. I don't really even want to draw. I just want to sleep. And then I can't do that. And then I feel guilty because I haven't drawn or read or anything like that. So it's just kind of like, I think I need to just make time for it. Like carve out some time every night. Even if it's just before bed. And try and do it that way. So that's my plan. He bought me Mexican Gothic, which I had asked for, and he also bought me a book called Supermarket, which I saw at Target, and for some reason I really wanted it. So he bought me that one. And like that one is supposed to be, I think it's like almost a murder mystery type thing, or it's like a mystery sort of thing, like where strange things have been happening in the supermarket, and then there's all this talk about murder and, you know, affairs, I guess, and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll read this. This is weird. And sometimes going out of your genre helps you get reinterested in things like that. So I decided that was going to be my attempt. I had another one too. I think it was Bookshop in Berlin, something like that. That's really not something I would ever pick out on my own, but I just saw it and it sounded really interesting about a bookshop owner in Berlin during, you know, World War II or whatever. And it's like more of a historical fiction type piece, it sounds like. So maybe I'll get interested in that too. Sometimes I surprise myself because I read books like The Reader. There was another one. What was that other one called? City of Thieves, I think it was. Didn't seem like it was going to be my jam, but I loved it. So sometimes books like that surprise me. I also have to read A Man Called Ove. That's one I have had for years, and I just never read it, so I finally started it. And I don't know, sometimes the way people write irritates me, and the way this author started the book, it sounds like it has a pretty good premise. Like, it's pretty interesting sounding. Like, some old curmudgeonly dude, you know, gets new neighbors and they're all crazy, and he, you know, basically stuff happens, so people realize he's not that bad of a person after all, you know, character development, blah blah blah. So that kind of stuff is interesting to me. But I was reading the very first chapter and I wanted to smack the author because he kept saying as if. And I think that was just a stylized choice he was doing, because every other sentence was basically as if he was doing this, as if he was doing this, as if. And I'm like, dude, if you say as if one more time, I'm gonna find you. You do not need to be using this all the freaking time. But in the next chapter, he barely used it. And I'm like, you need to pick what you're doing here, because I can't decide if I like you or not. And I don't want to read more of this book and get invested if I hate you. That's kind of like Cormac McCarthy, the dude that wrote The Road and like all those books. He wrote All the Pretty Horses, I think, is the one that I fell in love with. And I was reading it, and he doesn't use punctuation or quotation marks. And I remember being so so mad when I was reading that at first that I wouldn't read it. I refused. And then finally, I managed to get past that, and the story was really good. And I fell in love with it, and it made me want to cry. And I'm like, maybe I should read his other stuff, but it was so infuriating to me that this dude just ignored basic grammar. I don't know. I'm petty like that. But I did end up buying a ton of his books too. I haven't read all of them, but they were good. Alright, we're gonna finish up this rock. Alright, we managed to do it without missing anything, without going over the lines. So that's kind of like a history of things I've been reading and trying to do. Now that I'm working, I feel, you know, I don't know. I feel like I'm able to kind of waste a little bit of my money, kind of like a reward to myself, just to treat myself. Not really waste my money, but I feel like I'm, you know, earning money that I can treat myself now. My husband would never, you know, deny me anything if I asked for it, but I don't feel as guilty buying things for myself. So I actually bought an art subscription box to Scrawler Box, which is supposed to be like really good. And I also am really tempted to do like an art subscription box to do I want this to be silver or gold? We'll come back to this, we'll see. But I also want to do like an art subscription box to like a reading subscription box for something called it's like used book subscription or something. And basically it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just an art subscription box of used books. And you kind of tell them what you're interested in and what you would want. And they send that to you. And it's like $6 a month, including shipping, to send you one book, which is all I would need right now because I clearly don't have the dedication at the moment to finish one book a month. Maybe I could. Maybe if I actually get really into it, I can. But like, that's an insane price, and it would be rehoming used books, which I love the idea of. I love going to like used bookstores. I will buy the most beat up book on the shelf because I feel bad for it, and like I know no one else is gonna want to buy it, so like I'll buy it and give it a home, kind of like Toy Story or something. I don't know, for some reason I feel like books have feelings sometimes. But yeah, like I'm really putting thought into investing in that. So if anybody has like a used, or not even a used book, but like a book service they use, definitely let me know because I'm really curious and thinking of signing up for one. And I just really like the idea of the used book one because it's, you know, recycling older books. And that makes me feel good inside. So I am rambling a lot. I hope it's not driving you guys crazy because it's making me a little nuts. I'm like annoying myself. The sound of my own voice is annoying me. But, alright. I'm going to be doing a lot of brown here, I think. So I'm going to do more yellowy grass. So I'm trying to pick out my colors now. I don't want them to be too... I use YR1 for like everything. It's such a nice color though. So I think I'm gonna make the grass more dead looking. And like the colors of the flowers and the other stuff just darker. So that means I'll need GY4, GY5. I have to pick out my colors now or I'm going to backpedal hard and then do something I don't want to do. So what I am going to do, I might actually use GY8 too. So I'm going to start with the moss because I like coloring moss. So that leads me to another question. Have you guys read any good books lately? I'm on a book kick right now. I'm really trying to like gear myself up to do this and keep reading and keep my mind sharp and gotta make 2021 the best year possible. And apparently that means reading books. I also kind of want to start working on my story again. I think reading definitely helps to re-inspire me. So that's another reason I'm kind of like really wanting to get back into that. And it's so interesting because I'll be watching like YouTube videos or something random, and then I'll just get really inspired to add something to my story. And it's like I have to shelve the idea for later. I think something I'm going to start doing is drawing my characters too. I've said it several times, I think, on this channel, but for some reason, like, I haven't even written anything with one of my characters, okay? Like, she's a character that comes in, like, I'm on book 1, and she's going to come in on book 2. And I want to draw her, and I don't know why, but she's like kicking and screaming and throwing a tantrum, wanting to be drawn. So it's kind of like, okay, I really need to draw this girl. I really need to figure her out. And I think she would be fun. She might actually make some cute coloring pages. She's got a lot of personality. And what I like so much about her is like, she's deaf, which in a fantasy story can be kind of hard to pull off. And it's hard to write a deaf character anyway, from what I understand, and do it adequately and not like, you know, make that all the character really is. But she is deaf, but she has got some personality. She's like the one person that's not afraid of the main character of mine. She will give him a what's for too. Because my main character is rather grumpy. He's a grumpy old guy. But she don't have that. She isn't, you know. She won't be intimidated by him. And he respects her a lot for it, actually. Okay. Try to just darken it up. This is like literally Louisiana colors right now, except for, you know, Louisiana would be a little more dead looking. Maybe a little more crunchy, but still cool. I really like doing like the grasses and the berries and stuff and the rocks. That's like, the scenery is my favorite thing, actually. What do you guys prefer? Do you like doing the scenery? Or do you like doing characters? I think that's why I like these books so much. It's like you have both. Like, you have really simple characters, which for a day like today when I'm just like whatever, not totally wanting to go all out, like, it's really nice. Alright, we're gonna, it's like I can just add enough detail to make it look really good and not have to worry about like messing up a person's face, which is so easy to do. But I'm having a lot of fun just coloring like the foliage. So we're gonna color some foliage, you guys. This is what we're doing. So, okay. I gotta go on this tangent for a second. Okay, so I have been watching a lot of MrBallen, and for anybody that doesn't know who he is a channel that kind of does retellings of, sometimes they're real stories, sometimes they're paranormal stories, sometimes it's true crime, and his stuff is very themed. Like, it'll be the top 3 places you shouldn't go and people that went anyways. And a lot of it is about hikers that go missing. And there's actually a whole big case study done about hikers that go missing in the woods and in national parks. And I think that was Missing 411 by David Politis. And I mean, this is an actual police detective looking into thousands of missing person cases and things like that. And it's really fascinating. Some of the cases that they try to solve, and some of them are never solved. And so I've been like binge watching his channel because he retells these stories, these true stories of people that go missing and things like that. And the more I watch it, the more my husband and I, he watches it with me, but the more we kind of started wondering, like, was there a couple times that we were almost like on this channel, like being talked about, you know? Because, well, maybe I should just tell you the story, but some of the instances that he discusses on his channel are very similar to something that has happened to us in the past. And to me personally in the past, like where my husband was camping with me, but he wasn't there when this happened, kind of thing. And so it's like, was this almost like, was I about to become one of those missing people? Or were we about to become one of those missing people? So maybe I should tell the story. It could be like my creepy story of the year. Because I still want to tell you guys about the other creepy stories that I have, but I am going to wait till maybe more of a Halloween-y time for that. For now, I think I will discuss the camping thing though, because that is just so bizarre. So, as I color in nice foliage, the first thing that makes me think of it is my husband took me camping for the very first time when we were living in Minnesota. I have never been camping. Not camping. That's my dog, I'm sorry. The first time I was ever camping was with my aunt in like a little state park or something, and it wasn't real camping. It was just like, you know, there was RVs everywhere, and it was very closed off and things like that. There was no ruggedness, there was barely any tenting and stuff like that. So it was very simple. And basically what I remember is that was a nice fun time, whatever. No big deal. But, oh, where's my color? I need my specific color. Here we go. Oh my goodness, give me my color. Okay, hold on. I have a, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. That was my dog demanding to be released into the wilderness that is the rest of my house or apartment or whatever. So I was also going to make these blueberries at first, but I think I'm going to make them more like cranberries or something. I don't know. They're going to be red. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, what I was originally trying to say is there was my first camping trip, like real camping trip, was in Minnesota. My husband was going to take me because he had been camping with his dad before, and he was all excited. I really wasn't. I didn't really care. I wanted to stay home and sleep because I was working a lot. I was, you know, full-time student, all kinds of good stuff, and I just wanted to rest. Well, we ended up going anyway because I wanted to humor him, and he books us early spring. And early spring in Minnesota is still very, very cold during the night. But whatever, we have established we're gonna go, so we're gonna go. And he books us in a state park that is 4 miles from the parking lot. So we have to hike in with our stuff. And this is my first real camping in the woods, okay? So we have not even regular backpacks for like camping or hiking. We have Alice packs, like those really uncomfortable army issue trek across the desert kind of backpacks. And they're full of water and they're full of food. They are so heavy and they're so uncomfortable. I remember being instantly irritated, but that wasn't really hard to do, to be fair. Back then I was very quick-tempered. So we're going and we're hiking and we're hiking and we're hiking. We have our dog, we have our packs, we have water and all that good stuff. But these packs are so stinking heavy. I am not a happy camper. No pun intended. I am miserable already. And, you know, my husband kind of knows it. And we eventually get to a part where we stop and we look up And I swear to God, this mountain is straight up. We have got to climb a freaking mountain to get to our campsite. And I am really not happy at this point because I have had knee issues in the past. Like I have genuine knee injuries from when I was a runner. And I don't want to do it. I'm so irritated, but I do. And we start the horrible trek straight up. And we're going, and it's going on forever and ever. But eventually, we get there. We get to the top, and the trail just keeps going. And at this point, I have to stop. I have to rest. I'm so tired. And so, you know, he wants to see how far the campsite might be from where we're taking a rest. And he says, you know, I'll leave you with the dog. I'm just gonna go walk up the trail a little bit and see how far it is. And I just sit in the middle of this trail, which is nothing but dirt. And I just sit there and I'm like, whatever, okay. And I'm just sitting. I'm not moving. I do not want to move. I am like not having it, okay? And I feel bad looking back because I was acting like a brat. Like, you know, if you have like a 4 or 5 year old and they don't want to do anything and they just sit and they won't move, that was me. So basically I'm throwing a tantrum and I'm trying just to be left alone. My dog is just like the happiest thing in the world because she's with me, and like, you know, we're going on a huge walk, and oh, I was so annoyed. But I distinctly remember there was a time when I heard footsteps coming, and they were behind me, and they were heavy. And I mean, they were heavy enough that I heard them. The dog heard them. And we both look back, but there's no one there. There's no one coming this way. There's like, Anthony's not there, so it wasn't him, but you heard thump, thump, thump coming towards us. And there's no one around. And I just remember being so irritated and so annoyed that I didn't care. So I just went back to sitting on the trail and just kind of zoning out. But after watching all those like 411 missing people cases, I can't help but wonder, was something actually was it a bear that had maybe woken up from spring? Was it a wolf? Was it a person? Because things like this happen all the stinking time. And I could have been gone off that trail and my husband may have never found me. But that never crossed my mind at the time because I was tired and I was grumpy and I just didn't give a crap. And I'm glad I said crap and I didn't say the other word I was about to say. But it was just like coming to that realization now, it's a scary thing. So I don't know, like, it was definitely kind of a wake-up call. And we've agreed at this point, after watching this channel for long enough, that if we ever, you know, want to go hiking somewhere or don't want to go hiking somewhere, we have to stay together. We cannot do stuff like that anymore. That was not the color I wanted to use, but it'll work. Like, we will not split up if we're ever on a trail. Like, no matter what. That's how you don't ever see that person again. And so I don't know what it was, but something was walking around. And after that, it really wasn't bad. We did get to the campsite and it was very cold at night. I remember I didn't know how to start a fire, but let me tell you something. At like sunrise, when it was freezing, I figured it out. Anthony was still next to me asleep, and I got out of that tent and I figured it out real quick about how to start that damn fire. Because I wasn't sitting in the cold anymore. I had had enough. I was done. So it was actually so cold that we couldn't, like, we tried one more night and we couldn't stay because it was that bad. Because we were in a valley next to a river, and of course it was gonna be cold. But yeah, that was my first camping experience. But something else that really makes me kind of question is we were watching MrBallen's channel, and there was a story that he featured about someone that went camping in an area very similar to where we had been. And he had a really terrifying experience, just like we had. And it kind of made us kind of look at each other and go, like, did we maybe actually experience, like, did we almost end up on this show again? Kind of thing. And basically what happened is we were in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi someplace. No idea where, couldn't tell you. But I remember we had gotten to the campsite late. This was another one of those remote things, like where you had to hike in, set up a tent somewhere, and, you know, figure it out. And I was obviously reluctant because this was Mississippi, okay? And Mississippi has a lot of snakes and alligators and things like that. Didn't want to really mess with those things. I do not like them. I do not want to be near them. So being in the South, camping makes me really nervous because you don't have that up in Minnesota. You just have bears. So yeah, that's not much better. I'm scared of bears too. But we're camping and we got lost trying to find this place, and it's a wilderness reserve kind of area or a national woods or something. So it's not an actual park. You don't actually have to pay to get in. You don't technically register and go see anybody. You just go. So we finally find our way there, okay? And it's getting kind of late. Like, we're not sure we're gonna have time to go set up a campsite. And, you know, Anthony's kind of irritated because I had technically gotten us lost, and I'm irritated because, you know, screw this whole thing. I just want to go back to what I was doing, which was probably a whole lot of nothing because I was depressed and just not feeling a camping trip. But we decide to continue, and we have all our stuff, and we're gonna go have a good time, and, you know, we kind of set our mind to it that we're gonna enjoy ourselves. So we go, and we start hiking, and Anthony immediately forgets something important back at the car. So I'm standing in the clearing of this trail, and he goes and he runs back to get it, and he comes back just fine. That's not a problem. And I'm asking him questions like, where are we going to be camping? Like, is there an actual site set up somewhere that we're going to put up a tent? And he said, you know, there are technically sites, but you can camp anywhere. The park ranger, or the rangers that sometimes maintain this place, said that there are, you know, designated camp spots, but if you can't find them, you can set up anywhere. You just have to be in a designated camp spot to set up a campfire. So if we have to stay out for some reason into a makeshift spot, we just can't have a campfire. So, you know, okay, we'll try and get to this spot as soon as possible, and we start looking around. We're walking, and it becomes pretty clear pretty fast. We're not going to find a spot before the sun sets. We're not going to find one of these designated camping spots. So we decide, okay, we really just need to have a tent set up before it's dark. You know, we need to have someplace set up to just stay. So that's a really ugly looking leaf. Ugh. I'm getting too distracted with my story. So he decides, you know, let's just find a clearing and we'll go set up our tent and we'll be fine. And we do. We find a clearing, and it's evident that someone has been there before. And we basically set up camp, and everything is good and fine for a while. We set up. I don't see any snakes, so I'm not freaking out. The clearing is nice. It's like, you know, it's spacey, so I'm not claustrophobic. And it's fine. I'm actually fairly comfortable. You can hear the animals. We're only like a mile away from the car because we had gotten there so late. But I'm comfortable, and that's not normal for me when we go camping. I freak out about everything. I'm paranoid about everything. But for some reason, I was okay, which was really nice. And I'm sure Anthony loved it, because for once I wasn't fighting him and screaming and, like, you know, well, not screaming, but like I wasn't tantruming and pouting and stuff. Like, I was good. I was fine. And I was actually having a really good time. So we're talking, we're passing time. blah, blah, blah. And you can hear in the distance, like you can hear people's dogs barking in their yards. You can hear, you know, in the very far distance, you can hear people talking. And I figured we're just close enough to the houses still, because across the trail from us was a creek. And beyond that creek, I believe, were houses. I mean, that's the only reason I would be able to hear somebody, because there's nobody else in the parking lot. There's nobody else on this trail. So, you know, whatever. They're enjoying their weekend, and we're enjoying ours. So we're having a good time. We can hear the creek. We can hear the bugs and the animals, the chirping. It's really nice. It's really relaxing. And I fall asleep. And that never happens. Like, whenever we would go camping in Minnesota, I would be awake all night, playing a game, trying to just like fall asleep, never being able to. It was awful. But I fall asleep, and I fall asleep hard. That also never happens. So it was kind of nice. It was really weird. But eventually my bladder, you know, I have to pee like 9 times a night. It's like an exaggeration, but whatever. I have to use the bathroom. Long story short, I gotta use the bathroom. And I wake up, and Anthony's already awake. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe he just couldn't sleep. And I'm trying to not have to get out of this tent because I really don't want to go, you know, pee in the woods and maybe encounter a snake or something that I can't see. So I'm like trying my hardest to just make my bladder like go back to bed. Yeah, like that's how it works. And I'm just trying. Like, I don't want to get up. So I see him looking around. I roll over onto my other side, and I'm just like, I'm going to, like, you know, thinking to myself, I'm just gonna go to bed, whatever. And I hear him moving around a little, and he kind of looks up and says something. And I don't know what he said. It didn't register what he was saying because he was being so quiet about it. And eventually I kind of look at him again because I realize he's not going to sleep. Like, I figured maybe he heard something and he got concerned and then he was just going to go back to sleep. But he didn't go to sleep. And I'm laying there, not hearing him lay back down. He said something to me. He's trying to kind of get my attention. And I'm annoyed because I want to go to bed. But I'm like, okay, whatever. I look at him, and he's even more kind of alert and aware, and something's like not right. So I ask him, what's the matter? And he says, I heard someone out there. And I'm thinking, like, no, you didn't. You heard an animal or something just walking around out there. Like, you didn't hear anything. That's what's going on in my mind. And I'm just like, what do you mean you heard someone out there? He's like, I can't explain it. I can't believe you didn't hear it. There's something out there. And I'm just like, whatever, yeah, okay. I'm like, go back to sleep. And he's like, I can't. You're not listening. There's something out there. And I'm like really irritated at this point because I want to go to bed. But I kind of eventually come out of it a little bit and realize he's really, really unnerved. And this guy doesn't get unnerved for anything, okay? He was the one that was like dead asleep, snoring when there was a bear stomping around outside of our tent in frickin' Minnesota. He doesn't spook for nothing. And I'm just laying there and I'm like, okay, this is actually, he's got to be freaked out about something. Something must not be right. Like, something's got to be wrong. And I asked him, I said, you know, what happened? And he says, I woke up because I heard something walking around. I heard something running through the woods. And I heard something banging on a tree. And I'm like, what do you mean you heard something banging on a tree? And he said, it sounded like someone was just banging and hitting like beating the crap out of this tree near where we hung up our food. And my first thought is, does Louisiana have bears? Because I didn't sign up for bears in Louisiana. But whatever. I'm like, okay, what's the problem? And he's like, well, after I noticed it, it started running through the woods again, crashing, sounding really loud. Like, whatever this was big, according to him. and he's saying, you know, it was really loud, it was really big, and then it started walking around our campsite. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, walking around our campsite? And he's like, it sounded like at one point it kind of came down the trail from the tree, because we hung our food up a good ways down the trail from where we were camping, because we didn't want anything going for food and then wandering into the camp. So he says he hears someone banging and beating the crap out of the tree over here. He hears something running through the woods, like crashing, thundering through the woods. And then he can hear it like coming down the trail, something heavy, and then going into the woods again. And he said this time it sounded like it was walking through the woods, and it was coming closer and closer to our campsite. And it never came into the clearing where our campsite was, but he could hear it. And it was just kind of outside, like circling the campsite. It would go from one side to the other, just stepping, kind of like carefully stepping along. And he's like, I don't know what it is, but there's something or someone out there. And at that point I was like, could it still just be an animal? Like, is it just us being paranoid? You know, I don't know what to say. He doesn't really know what to say, and we're kind of like, what do we do? So eventually he's just like, I think we need to get out of here. Like, I think we need to go. This isn't right. Something is very wrong. And he's like, I think something's out there that's not good. Like, something is out there watching us, kind of like prowling around. We need to get out of here. And this is not something I wanted to hear. I am not happy because I am terrified of snakes, of alligators. There's a big creek right across the trail from us. And I'm thinking, you want us to walk back. It's like midnight. You want us to walk all the way to the car, at least a mile, in the dark, with something weird out there. Like, you have lost your freaking mind. But he kept pressing the issue. He's like, we have to get out of here. He's like, listen to the woods. And I do. And I kind of realize there's no sound. There are no bugs, there are no crickets, there is nothing. And I'm like, okay, that's really not normal. Okay, that is not what the forest sounds like, even at night. The only time it goes dead like that is when something is, like a predator is around. And I'm thinking to myself, there really is something out there. There's either someone or something out there. And, you know, we had to make that decision. We're like, we're gonna go. We're gonna sleep in the car, we're gonna come back during the day, get our stuff, and we're gonna leave. So me, being very unhappy, because snakes and alligators and parts of the trail were very watery and puddles were everywhere, and I'm thinking I'm about to get bit by something, and I'm gonna be pissed. Like, we decide it's best to go. That is the only thing that makes sense when you think there's someone stalking around your campsite. So we decide, we get the bear spray, just in case it might be some sort of bear. We get, we get our trekking poles so I can at least feel like I'm comfortable wandering around the woods at night, not about to step on a freaking snake. And we hike out of there. And when we start to leave, we hear someone so distinctly walking behind us, and it's big, and it's on one side of the trail towards the creek. You can hear the footsteps behind us, and then you hear them on the other side too. And we're just looking at each other like, is it one of the people that live on the other side of the creek? Are they just out here screwing with us? But what? You would hear laughing, you would hear voices, you would hear something. But there was very distinctly footsteps following us out of there. And I got really scared. Like, I was convinced at that point that he was right. There was somebody out there with us, and I was afraid. So we walk back to the car. We get to the car without any issue, somehow. And you know, we're sitting in the car for a while and we're just sitting there looking at the clock. It's like maybe 1 a.m. at this point, and we're like, are we just gonna sleep here? Like, what was that? We're trying to figure it out. We're not really sure what's going on. And Anthony looks over to the trailhead where you can still see from our car, and he just instantly, like, his eyes go kind of wide. He turns on the car and he starts gunning it for the exit of the parking lot. He's like, we're not staying here, we're not staying here, we're getting the, you know, the F out of here, we're going. And I'm like, why? What did you see? And he's like, I saw something out there, it was looking back at me, I saw something out there, we're getting out of here, well, we may not even come back in the morning. He was upset. And we drove until we found a truck stop, and we slept at that truck stop in our stupid car, because there was apparently, he saw something. He saw someone looking at us from the trailhead, and it's like, who was it? I don't know. I don't know if it was one of those people that live near the trail, that maybe they were just curious, or maybe they were just screwing around because they thought it would be funny. I don't know if it was something else. I don't know. But I do know that he was very scared, and I was very scared. And it was very real to us. And I felt very threatened. I messaged my friends in the morning and I'm like, we have to go get our stuff. If you do not hear from me in an hour, this is our location, send the police. And, you know, they were on it. They were checking in on me and stuff like that. But it was very frightening. And it's so strange because I think of that MrBallen stuff with hikers. And in this area very close to where we were, there was actually a hiker that had a very, very, very similar experience to the one we had. And he featured it on his show, and it's like, what was it? They don't know what it was in their situation either. But it is definitely the scariest thing that's ever happened while we were camping. I mean, scarier than the confirmed bears and stuff that were outside of our tent. And it was definitely something that I wonder, was this about to, you know, take the turn of us turning into somebody that was going to be on the missing hikers portion of that show? Like, because there was something out there, and it woke him up. I don't know how I managed to sleep through it, but there was definitely something following us, and that is the part that scares me the most. So, I don't know. It's very, very freaky. And I'm really glad we at least had something like bear spray or something in case there was an animal that came out after us. But even so, it's very unnerving. And yeah, so hopefully my parents don't watch this show, because then they just got an earful they never heard. But it's definitely, oh, I should have colored that green. We'll color it green. It was definitely an experience that has kind of stayed with me. So I'm gonna stop there for now. I'm getting tired and I need some coffee for a pick-me-up. I'm gonna zoom you out. Oh, that is in, not out, so I'll zoom you out. This is how far we have gotten. I will probably finish this up off camera and then put it up on my Instagram. I am also still working on the free coloring page for my subscribers, because I am still very, very thankful that you are here with me. And I'm thinking maybe more of a wintry theme for that, but I'm not sure yet. So let me know if you have any requests or any ideas. I will post this up at a later time when it is finally complete. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope to see you for the next video. Thanks for hanging out with me. You have a good one, okay?